Hey guys, I am so excited to share with you guys today some basics about crocheting and to show you how I get started with any pattern and also show you a single crochet today that you can learn how to use on lots of different projects. But first I wanted to just tell you a couple of things before we get started actually crocheting. And the first is just to be patient with yourself and have fun because this is something that does take a moment to learn. And it really just depends also on how much you apply yourself. So not only that, but you also want to remember that you are a unique individual. One thing that I hear from a lot of people is that they could never really get their hands to work right with the yarn. And I think that's because they were trying to imitate somebody else to the T. And there are some things that are the same across the board that you really want to be mindful of. But we are also individuals with hands that are not all the same. So you need to find what works best for you and how that can flow with your own hands. And I'll show you what I do and you can see if that works for you. So for starters, I just wanted to remind everybody to be mindful of the type of yarn that you're using and the size that you're using. So I'm using the Red Heart brand for this video, and if you look on the back of the label, it's going to show you what size your yarn is. This is a medium, and then it's going to tell you what size of either a crochet hook or a knitting needle that it recommends that you use. This is recommending that we use a 5.5 millimeter. I am using a 5.0 millimeter for this. And also you're going to see that there are different ways that crochet hooks are labeled as far as their size and how you can tell what size they are. And I'll show you what I'm using right here. This is a, let me get it in the video, 5.0 millimeter, and you can see that it says H/8. That's just a different way of recognizing the actual size of the hook itself. That's the size for the hook, not the handle, not the, I've seen some crochet hooks that have big handles and skinny handles, but it's the same size hook that you're looking for, really. So this is a 5.0 millimeter hook, and that's what we're going to be using on this yarn. Also remember that there are two different ends to your yarn. There's going to be the end that is somewhere around here. It's the end that you will continually have to unravel. And then there's the end that is from the inside where you can just pull on it. Now this doesn't necessarily work for all the different yarns. Unfortunately, it just depends on how it's put together. But that is really how I prefer to use my yarn, is just to see if I can find that little end and just pull it as I work. Okay, so as we said, everybody's hands are a little bit different. So if you need to just, stretch your hands, shake them out, whatever you need to do to get started. So we're going to make our slip knot first. So here's the end. So what I do is I make it so that there's just a little arch, and you want to have a little bit of a tail because you're going to want to work that in later when you're finished with your project. You can take a weaving needle and weave it in. It's a plastic needle that's meant specifically for yarn, and you can use that to weave in the tail once you're done, and that way you don't have it too close to where like you have to cut it off and then you're worried about it unraveling at the end. So make sure you have enough of a tail. So all I do is I literally just one finger in here, I turn it, I pinch the other side, and I pull it through. Okay, I'm going to do that again. I've got my tail on this side, and I'm holding it. I'm really holding like one side with these fingers and one side here so that I've got enough tension on both sides. There we go. So then I will just slip my hook through there, and I'll pull on the long side so that it tightens, okay? So this is how I like to hold my yarn. I will actually put the long side through the middle of my fingers here, and then I will hold the short side between these fingers and my thumb so that I can make sure that I have enough tension on both sides. So I'll hold with my middle finger and my thumb so that I can then put a little bit of tension with my index finger while the rest of it's being held here. Okay, so again, just figure out what works for you. Have enough tension on both sides, but not too much, okay? All right, so now that we have our slip knot, we are going to make our chain. Making a simple chain is really how you start out with any pattern. So I'm gonna make a chain with, I'll say 8. So this is what you, in a lot of like patterns, if you're following a pattern that says chain 8, it literally just means you're just gonna make 8 chains. So okay, let me go slow. I'm gonna put the hook underneath the yarn. Okay, I'm gonna turn it a little bit so that when I pull it, the hook has it and I'm pulling it through that loop. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. So that's our first chain. So I am keeping it here, keeping it inside this loop. I am putting the hook underneath the yarn, turning it slightly and pulling it through my chain. Okay, so that makes 2. I'm gonna make a total of 8. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this is a simple chain of 8. So you really want to pay attention to any patterns you may be following, what your beginning chain is, because that's really, really important. Okay, so now that we have a single chain, I'm going to show you how to make a single crochet. You can see all of the individual chains right here. Okay, so we're in this one already. So we're going to go in this one. We're just going to take our hook right here and we're going to stick it through that chain right there. Okay, so now we have it through this loop and this loop. Okay, we're going to do the same thing that we just did when we made the chain. We're going to bring the hook underneath the yarn. We're going to turn it slightly so that it hooks the yarn. We're going to pull it through that first chain right there. But we're going to make sure that we have these 2 loops on there. And then we're going to do that one more time. Under the yarn, turn it slightly, and we're going to pull it through both of those. Okay? So we're going to do that again. Now we just crocheted in this chain right here, so we're going to the next one right there. Okay? So we're going into that one. So now we have it on that loop and that loop. We're going to go under the yarn, turn it so that it hooks it, pull it through the one chain. Okay? Under the yarn, turn it, pull it through both. Okay? And this is how you single crochet. We're going to do that across the whole chain until we get to the end. Okay, so we just did that one. So now we're going to go into this one right here. Okay. And there's something that's really important to do at the end of every single row, and I'm going to talk about it here in just a moment, but it's something that you must remember or else your pattern will not turn out right. But it is so simple, so you don't have to worry about it being difficult. You just have to remember to make that extra step. Okay, so we're at the very last chain. We're going to put it through, pull through 1, pull through 2. All right. So we've just made our first row of single crochet. The really important thing to do at the end of every single row is to do 1 extra chain. And then we turn our work. Okay? And then we're going to single crochet back the other way. Okay? So we're going to go into that first chain right there. Now at this point, if you looked at it from this direction, you're going to see it kind of looks like a braid going down. What we want to do when we go through this chain, we want to put it through both of those top little loops right there. If you can see that. Not just the one, but both of those on top. Okay? Now we're going to go under the yarn. We're going to pull it through that first chain right there. So we have the 2 loops. Okay? Then we're going to go under the yarn, turn it slightly, and pull it through both. Okay? So we're going to do that again. Now that we're on this row, we're putting it through both of those. That's part of the same chain right there. Okay? Pulling it through, pulling it through. I'm going to go to the very end. And you can use this. This is the most basic crochet pattern, really, that I'm aware of. But you can use this for pretty much anything. There are some different patterns that are much more intricate, some that are a little bit more, and you can really mix and match patterns, and that's what I do with a lot of the things that I make. So we're at the very end again. Uh-oh. See? Even I mess up sometimes, and that's okay. All right. We're at the very end again, and it's really important that we do that one little step. That one little step changes everything. Okay, so now we're here. We can keep going, honestly, as long as we want. You can honestly do this to make a blanket. You can do this to make hats. That's one thing I'm looking forward to doing, is showing how to do that, because one thing that we like to do is to make hats and hand warmers, and we like to donate them for places that give them out to the homeless, especially during the winter. This is like a really fun project to get into, to help other people, especially for kids, if they want to do something to help other people. And you can donate it to places that will actually give them to the homeless for you, or if you are in a safe place, you can give them out to the homeless yourself. And if you're a child, I really want you to have your parents involved with whenever you do that, okay? So this, like I said, I can just keep going forever with this pattern. So I'll just go to the end of this row just so that you guys can see what this looks like. Okay. Now, if you were to finish your pattern right here, okay, what you'd want to do is you'd want to get enough yarn through here. You'd want to take some scissors, and you would want to cut this part, okay? We're going to cut this part, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pull that through, okay? So now you have a little rectangle. There's a lot of things that are a rectangle shape. There's blankets, and you can do a rectangle to turn it into a hat, and I'll show you guys that at another time. But the reason why it's really important to have a long enough tail is because if I had cut it too close, it might start to unravel. But because it's long enough, I can actually take a plastic weaving needle and I can weave it in there, and then it will not be close to the point where it could start unraveling. And I can do that on both sides. And you could see how I could create just a whole rectangle without the tails on there. But that's how you do a single crochet. That's pretty much the basics of crocheting. I will be putting out some more videos with some other patterns and things and projects that you guys can do. So look for those. And I can't wait to share with you guys all the different things that are on my heart. I hope you guys have a great day, and just remember that Jesus loves you. Bye-bye.